And we are back. We've got the Tight Ends Matter 12-team Dynasty PPR League coming at you tonight. It's our part two episode where we are looking at rankings 6 through number 1. So, Chris, let's get right into it, and we'll get to number 6. And we're looking at Ogre 8593 here. Say hello to my Kittle friend. Looking at a lineup of Derek Carr, Derek Henry, Saquon, Amari Cooper, Jacoby Myers to Vegas there, Gabe Davis, Evan Ingram, George Kittle. We've currently got Chris Moore in the flex. Won us a couple of leagues last year, Chris. Super flex is going to be Baker Mayfield when it's all said and done, or Jordan Love. We've got Rashad Penny sitting here on the bench. We've got Robert Woods, Odell Beckham, and Michael Thomas. Three guys that who knows what we're going to get from this year. Down here on the further down the way, we've got Darius Slayton, Curtis Samuel, not a whole lot else. No picks until the end of this draft, and nothing until 2025. So really what you see is what you get with this team, Chris. I like it. I think it's a more complete team than what we just saw. I would have loved to have seen Jacoby Myers still with the Patriots. I think he's going to be okay in Vegas, but liked him better with the Patriots. That being said, when you've got Henry, Barkley, Kittle, and Ingram, you've got a chance to win just about every week.
Yeah, I mean the big key, right, is what is he going to get from either Baker Mayfield or Jordan Love? I mean that's the real question here, and that's why he's six and not maybe something like three, right? It's just that huge question mark at QB2. I mean I don't trust Baker as far as I could throw him. Even with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin there, he just hasn't shown us much of anything, right? In his career, it's tough. I want to believe in Baker. I think, I hope he does well. For the sake of all our Evans and Godwin shares, I hope he does well. But I can't count on him. Jordan Love may be okay, but he's not going to have much help there in Green Bay. I'm with you. I think Jacoby Myers will be okay in Vegas. I think they'll be fine. The rest of the roster is very, very good. We don't have much to trade here. It's hard to figure things out. I mean, we have major, major X factors in Odell Beckham, Michael Thomas, and Robert Woods. I mean, if two of those guys hit, it's going to be a huge, huge boon to this team. Even if one of them hits, I think this team's in very, very good shape in terms of depth and the back end of its starting lineup. But for me, it's all about these QBs. What does Baker and Jordan Love give you? I mean, if he gets a good run, I think his team's going to be in good shape.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know if it's an elite title contender. I think this team is playoff bound. I think this team is going to be a tough out. And obviously by my six ranking, I don't think he's a legitimate title contender. Again, I think he's going to be fine. But again, you've just got these pieces here on the back end that are pieces that other teams don't necessarily have. But you said it perfectly, Chris. If Odell Beckham or Michael Thomas is that dude that they once were, then this team is going to be in much, much better shape. But again, it comes down to that quarterback play. You said it perfect. So I think this team is good, Chris. I think it's very good. But we've got some question marks that just lowers this team's ceiling a little bit more. So than we're going to see from other teams. So, Chris, let's just see that team that I have ranked right ahead of them. And we're going to go up to Jalton Z as our fifth ranking here. Jalton Z from that top division here, the Gonzalez division. We're looking at a lineup of Trevor Lawrence, Brees Hall, Kenneth Walker, DJ Moore, George Pickens, Michael Pittman, Cole Kmet, Fryermuth. We got Hollywood Brown at flex, Tua at super flex. We've got Jimmy G, who's something this year, sitting here on the bench. We've got Aaron Rodgers as well, Zeke Elliott. Let's see what else we have. We've got Dotson, Darren Waller, Ferguson. We'll see what happens with him. He's got 101. He's got 104 as well. Chris, he's got 201, 203. This is a really, really good team. I just don't think it's just there yet. It's lacking that elite top end talent unless, Bijan Robinson is the guy, and all signs are pointing to that being the case. I just don't see that elite talent that we're going to see from the teams ahead of them. I think this team is very good. I think this team is the first one that I'm going to say is a legit title contender. I could see this team winning it all. But it's going to come down to what happens with these picks that he has. And do guys like Pickens and Pittman pick it up a little bit this year?
Yeah, I mean, 101 Bijan Robinson, I mean, we're not going to beat around the bush. He's the 101, and you have to take him, especially with this team that looks ready to kind of compete. It's a good young team. It may not happen for him this year. His team may be just one year away because it's very young, it's very strong. But you add Bijan Robinson to this team, and yeah, that may be the guy who kind of pushes you over the edge with this team. I mean, it's strong across the board. I think he's a title contender. I'm with you there. You know, you're right. The one thing pushing him down is the fact that he doesn't have Jamar Chase. He doesn't have Justin Jefferson or Christian McCaffrey. Just that elite producer that's gonna just can win you weeks by himself. That doesn't exist on this team. But that being said, I mean, it's just very solid, even 3, 4, 5 bench spots deep. And that there's something to be said for that. It's a team that's going to have a lot of flexibility when it comes to making moves, whether it's moving off some of these picks, whether it's moving off future picks, whether it's moving off some players and consolidating. There's a ton of flexibility here. One guy you glossed over, you missed him, Rashad Bateman. I mean, he could be very, very good in Baltimore if he's healthy. I think he could be very productive there. Potential, as their wide receiver one. So, I think he's a very interesting player as well. So there's a lot of talent on this team. Uh, I think if I was in this spot, I would draft Bijan at 101, and then I'd figure out a way to turn 104 plus something else into a really kind of star caliber player. I think that would be my move with this team.
Chris, Rashad Bateman deserves to be mentioned just as much as Nico Collins, KJ
Oh,
Hamler,
come
and
on.
Greg
Oh, my
Dortch
God.
deserve to be mentioned.
Come
I didn't gloss
on.
over him one bit. He was a
Oh, we're going to have to log off.
a coach's decision did not mention. I think you make some really good points here, Chris. This team could legitimately win the title here with the guys that he has on this team. Before I go any further, Chris, he purchased or traded for Zeke Elliott a couple weeks ago. In fact, 2 weeks ago to the day. He traded a pick for him. What do you think is Zeke Elliott's trade value in terms of rookie picks? Sorry, not right now, because we know he's
two
about to
weeks
get
ago?
released. 2 weeks ago, before there was any type of noise, what do you
I
think
mean,
was fair?
he was about to get ready to be released 2 weeks ago, too. Uh, 301.
Yeah, I don't know exactly which number, but it's a third. Is that really Zeke Elliott right now?
Zeke Elliott stinks. I hate to break this to you, Matt, but it's a long time coming. He stinks out loud. He's dead. I mean, he's done. Forget about Zeke Elliott.
I hope he goes to your favorite team, Chris. I know it's the Cowboys. Your favorite running back room and vultures every touchdown possible. Although we own all the teams together, so that's not fair to say. But anyway, Chris, I like this team here. I think what you said about the moves makes a whole lot of sense. Boy, I'd love to see Cole Kmet either break out or just disappear. I mean, I'm so sick and tired of hearing his name. So I think we've got to get something from him. But when you look at this roster here, Chris. We need to get elite production out of Trevor Lawrence. I think that's a must. We need Tua to stay healthy, and we need Aaron Rodgers. If none of those things happen, for Aaron Rodgers to be really, really productive on the Jets. So, Chris, this is a very good team. I could see this team winning the title, but I've got him at fifth. Chris, when I did the rankings originally and I came to his team before any of the top four teams, I had this team ranked second originally. So it speaks more to the quality of this league than it does to a detriment to this team. It's a very good team. So you're going to hear what, 4, 3, 2, 1 are ahead of him. In fact, let's get to that right now. At number 4, Chris, we're going to DeBenny all the way down at the bottom here. I love VD. Can't believe I just said that on our YouTube station. I guess I can't click OK for kids anymore. But let's have a look at this team, Chris. We got Joe Burrow. We've got DeAndre Swift. We've got Joe Mixon, Ty Hill, McLaurin, Amon-Ra. Tight end is the place that's getting held back here. Conklin and Higbee. We've got Antonio Gibson and Danny Dimes. Below that, we've got Tom Brady. Let's face it, he's coming back. We've got Leonard Fournette, Alvin Kamara, big off seasons for them. See what happens with either of those guys. Jamal Williams, see if he can carve out that same touchdown stealing role in New Orleans. Who else do we have? We got Rondell Moore, Dawson Knox as well. No first round. His first pick is 207 this year. A good team here, Chris. No complaints at all, right? We'll probably get Gibson out of there, put in Alvin Kamara, depending on his legal troubles. And then we probably get Conklin out of there and put Dawson Knox. Listen, it's a really good team. I think there's a little bit more top end talent with this team than we just saw. Not a whole lot of depth, but it's fine. I like this team a lot, Chris. Legit contender.
Yeah, absolutely. I like this team top to bottom, and you said it. There's just a few more game breakers on this team than the team than Jalton Z, right? You've got Tyreek Hill. I mean, you could put up 35 points in any given week. Joe Burrow's obviously a top three quarterback on any given week. DeAndre Swift even has that upside to just kind of break a week for you, and that's huge. That's what you need when talent is consolidated. And I love the depth here. Man, I love this fit for Jamal Williams in New Orleans. I think that's just kind of a great spot. I don't know, again, we'll see what happens with Kamara. But it's essentially the same role he had in Detroit, right? Even if Kamara is 100%, out of legal trouble, and he's the guy. Jamal Williams is in that same role, going to short yardage, touchdowns. I mean, it just makes perfect sense to land there in New Orleans, and he's got that upside here if Kamara does face legal trouble or gets injured. I mean, he's oft injured. He's had his issues there, so I think it's a great spot for him. That it just provides a whole lot of depth for this team. Um, QB3 could be an issue if Senor Brady doesn't come back, but he's probably coming back. Let's be honest. Yeah, I like this team a lot. I think there's a lot here, a lot to work with, high upside. Not a lot of maneuverability, I don't think, with his pieces. I think you kind of stuck with this team. I don't think there's too many moves to make. If you see any, let me know. But as constructed, I think you've got a title contender here anyway.
Yeah, definitely is, Chris. 100% in spades. Really, really good throughout. I think you said everything necessary. Obviously with Dawson Knox looking at the tight end position, it looks a little bit better. Like I said, Fournette and Kamara, I think we need those depth pieces, Chris, because other than that, we don't have a great deal of depth on this team. So we're going to need, again, Kamara to stay healthy and stay out of jail. And we're going to need Fournette to end up somewhere where he can still contribute because this team could be looking at a little bit of trouble on bye weeks in those situations. Or, if Swift doesn't, take that step forward that we all want him to take. Joe Mixon's facing some potential legal trouble with his gun waving that he seems to love to do. So listen, I like this team here, Chris. I think it's going to be fine, but there's a little bit too many question marks for me to really feel amazing about it.
Yeah, that's fair too. I mean, I think you put him in the title contender category, but simply, not at number one or number two, anything like that. I think he belongs. I think his ranking, I think it's very fair where you have.
All right, Chris, let's talk about our number three team. We've got Chaz Fool at number three. We've got Chaz Fool at number three. And we're looking at a lineup of Geno Smith, Najee Harris, J.K. Dobbins, Devontae, Christian Kirk, Jerry Jeudy, Everett and Hockenson at tight end, Mike Williams at flex, Justin Fields at super flex, Lamar Jackson obviously going to go into that QB spot, and we can knock Geno out of there, but a good quarterback room. Then we've got Deontay Foreman, we've got Miles Sanders, A.J. Dillon, sitting here on the bench. We've got Allen Robinson. We'll see what shakes out with him. Valdez Scantling, McCole Hardman, Zach Ertz, who is another guy that we could put in at tight end in case Gerald Everett doesn't land in a favorable spot. Down here for picks, we've got nothing in the first round to speak of. 209. Listen, I love this team here, Chris. I think it is complete. I think it's got that little bit of depth. I don't really see any holes. It's going to come down to running back play for me, Chris. Is Najee Harris going to take a step forward or take a step back? Is J.K. Dobbins going to take advantage of being healthy? I think those are big questions. Miles Sanders, we'll see if that Carolina role blossoms a little bit more than that Philly role did, because we know he's got the talent. A.J. Dillon, love to see him on the field a little bit more. So love this team here, Chris. Again, legit contender. I don't have any real negative things to say about it.
Yeah, I don't really have a knock on it either. I think this team is built almost flawlessly, right? I mean, he's got depth at quarterback. He's got quality running backs and depth that goes, four deep basically, with Miles Sanders and AJ Dillon on the bench. His wide receiver room is great with Adams, Kirk, Judy, Mike Williams. I mean, that's very, very solid. You got Allen Robinson on the bench, MVS and McCole Hardman. I mean, those are plug and play bye week guys. You could just throw them in and hope they go off for you. Tight end looks great with Hawkinson and Gerald Everett, and then you've got Zach Ertz on the bench. I mean, this team is deep at every single position. He's got quality at every position. You said it, right? The only question mark here really is Najee Harris, J.K. Dobbins, Miles Sanders, and A.J. Dillon. Are those four running backs going to be able to give you enough throughout the season to win you a title? I mean, that's the big question, right? And I mean, those guys are all very solid players. I think they'll be solidly productive, but he's going to need one of those four guys, whoever it is, I believe he's going to need one of them to give him like a top 8, top 10 running back season in order for this team to reach the title.
Yeah, you might be right on that, Chris. But I think the overall depth of this team is what's going to end up carrying it. That coupled with the top end talent of guys like Davante Adams. Is Jimmy G going to be picking him out the same way that Carr was? I'd like to think that is going to be the case. Love to see what Justin Fields is going to offer this year. But listen, as long as you've got Fields and Jackson with their versatility and their ability to give you a floor, with their rushing ability, I think this team's going to be fine, Chris. In terms of moves, I think I would get off of 209 if I could right now to get an aging vet that can give me even more depth, or maybe even put 209 together with one of these guys to get an upgrade, because I think there is enough depth, even if he didn't get more depth. So that's what I would consider with this team, Chris. I don't know if I'm looking at names. Could I do 209 and Mike Williams to get up to Mike Evans?
I mean, knowing how much everybody except us hates Mike Evans, probably. I mean, I think that's reasonably close. And I think that's probably, listen, we already own him everywhere. But if there was a league we didn't have Mike Evans, I'd be buying him in every single league. I mean, it doesn't matter the quarterback. He's going to produce enough for you, especially if he's your wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 type thing. It's just a no risk proposition. If I could do that, I would do it absolutely in a heartbeat with this team.
All right, Chris, let's get to our top 2. At number 2, we're going to be going down to Purdy Mouth Brock. Last team listed there in the final division, Purdy Mouth Brock. We've got Brock Purdy. We've got Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Juju, Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans, Dalton Schultz, Travis Kelce, James Conner, and Jared Goff. On the bench, we've got Stafford in case Purdy isn't that guy. I think we're going with this Stafford Kupp stack regardless. We've got Zach Wilson. We'll see what ends up coming of him. David Montgomery lands in Detroit there to take away touchdowns from Swift all day long. We've got Boyd on the bench, Logan Thomas, David Njoku. God, we know Taysom Hill's going to be something again. He always is. No picks to speak of in 2023, but a full complement going forward. I like this team, Chris. We're starting to see a complete team now, in my opinion. Plus, we have some uber talented guys that can absolutely blow the ceiling off of any score any week. So I've got them at 2. It was very, very close between this team and the number 1 team, which was Suck A Ditka.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is it's a very well built team as well. I think Stafford and Goff, I think it's a fine QB duo. I love the running backs here with Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor. James Conner should be fine as well. I mean, at tight ends, he's got the ace in the hole, Travis Kelce, Dalton Schultz. I mean, we'll see where he lands. We'll see where he lands, right? I mean, that's going to be an interesting spot. I like Juju in New England. I think it's a reasonable spot for him. Cooper Kupp obviously can blow the doors off. Jonathan Taylor, high upside. Mike Evans, I just spoke on him. Decent depth here, Matt. It's not flashy names in the depth department, but Donovan Peoples-Jones, KJ Osborne, DJ Chark, these guys can score for you on any given week. And same thing with Tyler Boyd. You can just plug those guys in and they'll be fine. They're not going to kill you on bye weeks. Same thing with David Montgomery and David Harris. Those guys are never going to kill you on bye weeks. And it's all you're really hoping for with your depth, really is, especially when you have a starting lineup this strong. You just don't want to get killed on bye weeks. And I think he's got that. So I love the top end talent here. It's a deep team, it's a complete team. In terms of moves, Matt, I mean, I'm just going to sit tight with this team. I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to see where I am in week 8. And then I'm going to target some guys for help with my first and second next year. And I'm going to try and get some help if I need it around week 8, week 9, maybe earlier if I have to. But I think this team is just fine to sit tight for now.
Yeah, it's ready to go. It is 100% wheels up, ready to do this year, be a legitimate contender. It doesn't have the elite depth that I think we saw with the last couple of teams. There's nobody on this bench that I say, okay, yeah, this is a game changer when even on bye weeks. I like these guys, right? Peoples-Jones, Tyler Boyd, guys like that, Montgomery. But there's no real game breakers down there. So I think this team is hamstrung for better or worse. I think this is a fine team to be quote unquote stuck with. But I think what you're suggesting is right. We can't go and spend those 2024 first right now. We've got to wait to see what if we need anything, and then make those moves. But I think this team has enough here, Chris, where even if we're on bye weeks, the guys of like Cup, Taylor, Jacobs are going to keep them in games.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt, real quick, I mean, how about this division, right? You've got Sukkaditka, who we're about to see at number 1. You've got Purdy Mouth Brock at number 2, and I love VD, right? I mean, he was a top 6 rank as well, right? Where'd you have him ranked?
Yeah, he was 4.
Yeah, I was getting. He was 4, and I don't think Dambra is is a slouch either. I mean, he's sitting there with Mahomes and some very quality players as well. This is an intensely competitive division.
All right, well, let's see what this number 1 team is all about, Chris. I think you'll agree with me here. He's loaded just about everywhere but the tight end position. But as we said, tight ends don't matter. Number 1, we've got Suck A Ditka here. We've got Kirk Cousins, Nick Chubb, Christian McCaffrey, Steph Diggs, Justin Jefferson, Debo, Hunter Henry, Tanyan, Austin Eckler, and Russell Wilson at Superflex. Guys on the bench, we've got Aaron Jones, James Robinson. I think is a guy to keep an eye on out there in New England. Chris, I think that's a nice little spot for him. Nook Hopkins, Keenan Allen, Tyler Lockett, Cortland Sutton as well. We've got John Mechie coming back from missing all of last year, and we've got Mike Gesicki sitting on the bench, along with Mo Alley Cox. Always seems to catch a touchdown here and there. We do have 112 and 212 in this year's draft. No first next year, though. Chris, I love this team, man. It's got the top end talent. I mean, we've got Keenan Allen and DeAndre Hopkins sitting on the bench, and rightfully so. I mean, obviously, the glaring hole is tight end, but I think these guys are good enough where they will at least not give you zeros each week.
Yeah, and I actually like the landing spot here. Tanyan just signed with the Bears today. I like that landing spot for him. I think that's a reasonable spot here to be a guy. It's kind of a safety valve for Fields. Again, I mean, with how good the rest of this team is, I just need like non-zeros from my tight end. I just don't want them to be goose eggs every week, and I'm fine. I mean, if you get a tight end on this team that can just give you 6 points every week, right? 6 to 8 points, 3 for 30, that type of thing. I'm feeling good about my roster. Now, this team has a ton of depth, right? I think I would try to consolidate a little. It's hard to do that in March when you don't know all the situations and you still have a ton of time to get through injuries and stuff, but that would kind of always be in the back of my mind with this team. How can I consolidate? What can I do? Do I just need to and that may not present itself, right? That trade may never present itself because there's guys like Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, James Robinson, Andrew Jones. They're kind of Aaron Jones, excuse me. They're guys that, I mean, they're obviously highly productive, but they're not really coveted on the on the trade market. So that opportunity to consolidate may not present itself. But that's just something I would always keep in the back of my mind with this team. How can I consolidate? How can I just continuously improve my starting lineup?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Chris. As we always say, those guys always tend to have more roster value than trade value. And I think that's going to certainly be the case with guys like Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins at this point in their careers in terms of dynasty. But man, this team has it all, Chris. I honestly wouldn't make any moves. I wouldn't even look to consolidate because we do have guys that, could get banged up, miss a little bit of time. And I don't want our lack of depth to be the reason that we don't get there. That and the trade value that they're just not going to have, right? Lockett, Keenan, and Hopkins. Are you getting more than a second for any of those guys right now if we're looking at picks?
Yeah, I mean that's really the problem, right? Is you're not going to get a ton of value for them. You'd probably have to look to package Debo for a player, Debo plus something else for an upgrade over Debo. I think that's probably the move if I was going to make it. But I'm with you. I don't think you really necessarily need to do anything. That's more of a an August, September type move that you look into. Maybe even wait till October kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, there's just a ton of talent here. I think you could maybe make a case for going after some sort of QB3 just in case, maybe trade off some of your wide receiver depth or running back depth and try and get a QB as kind of a stopgap. But again, I don't think you need to do anything. That when you have the luxury of having this much depth, you kind of sometimes it can be worse, to kind of force moves than it is to just kind of sit tight.
Chris, of all the requests that Aaron Rodgers is making, how is he not requesting that Robert Tonyan ends up in New York Jet green? I mean, Tyler Conklin can't be the answer to Aaron Rodgers' questions, and he loves his tight ends as well. So that's kind of I didn't realize that he had signed with Chicago today. I'm actually kind of shocked about that. But wow, I'm kind of surprised even more so that Rodgers didn't request that he join him in New York. But Chris, I think this is a more than worthy number one team. Well deserved. Let me give you the 12 through one last time here, Chris. We got the Gronkening at 12. We got Mini Winnie at 11. Crab Cakes is sitting there at 10. Dambra at 9. 8 is Baby Don't Hurst Me. 7 is 27H Brown. 6 is Ogre. 5 is Jalton Z. 4 is the Benny. 3 is Chaz Fool. 2 is Purdy Mouth Brock. And Sucka Ditka takes the number 1 spot in this Tight Ends Matter League. So another blast, Chris, doing this league. We're back, baby. We're full swing, looking to do shows, 2-3 nights a week. So find us on Twitter, find us on Sleeper, Maddie C259, CETA1818 as well. Again, appreciate you guys having us look at this league. Be sure to go like, subscribe, tell your friends about us. Just got to get those numbers up on YouTube so that one day we can do these shows free to the leagues and just get that revenue from YouTube, baby. That's what the dream is. So help us out with that. We always appreciate it. Have a good night, guys, and good luck in your league.